Hey guys, it's Elisa. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to walk you through how to use present perfect tense. This is one of the 4 videos that I am doing about present tense. I also have a video where I talk about all 4 of these tenses together. So if you're wondering what the difference is and why you would use each one versus the other, then you should check that video out. I will make sure that I put it in the description below. Before I do anything though, I want to be very clear. The English language is wild and crazy, and there are exceptions to absolutely everything. So I'm only telling you what will usually happen. There are always going to be exceptions that you can find, so don't get too hung up in that. So when we talk about present perfect tense, or when we say things in present perfect tense, we're talking about an unspecified time. We could be talking about any amount of time, any length of time. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you. So any unspecified length of time is what we're talking about in this case, in present perfect tense. We're focusing on the result though. So we're not really focused on when it's taking place. We're focused on what the result is. So we're going to say things like, she has gone to the store. She has been to London. So the result is she has gone to the store. The result is she's been to London. So we're telling you the thing that's happening. She went to the store. She's been to London. This is what we're letting you know when we're talking about this tense. We're focusing on what is happening, not when it's happening. Hopefully that makes sense. So our simple structure for this one is the subject plus the word has or have, depending on the conjugation, and then we're going to add the verb in past tense. And that past tense is usually going to be the past participle form. Now there are always exceptions to this. If you don't know what a past participle is, Google them. I think that's really the easiest way. I can give you the grammar definition, but that's not really going to help you actually use them. So literally, I often will give students a list. If I can find a list and I remember to do it, I will put it in the description below. I know I have a list. I think it might be a Google Doc though. I don't know if I have a link to one, but I'll try and find one for you guys. That way you have that. But I find that Googling them and practicing using them in a sentence, feel free to practice in the comments below, is actually an easier way to learn how to use the words than just knowing the grammar definition. Grammar is not that helpful in English, because we like to break those rules. It's helpful to kind of have a framework, but it's more helpful to actually just use things in a sentence, which is why I'm going over this with you in this way. So anyway, again, so the sentence structure for this is going to be the subject plus have or has plus the verb in past tense, usually past participle form. So this is when you're going to get things like, I have been to New York 300 times. That might be true because I lived in New York, so I guess I have been there 300 times, more than that. She has left the house. So you see, we're doing our subject, we're doing have or has, and then we're adding our verb in past tense form. And to use present perfect in negative form, you might say something like, I have not gone to bed. So instead of saying I have gone to bed, you would say I have not gone to bed. So we're just adding not. So again, the simple structure for this one is the subject plus have or has plus the verb in the past tense form. There are 3 basic times when you might use this. The first is when something started in the past, it's still happening in the present, and it might continue in the future. It doesn't have to continue in the future, but it could. So you could say something like, they have played together the whole trip. Or you could say they have played together since they were kids. Another time we might use this is when we want to talk about something that has happened in the past and might happen in the future. So there has to be some sort of a significant chance this is going to happen in the future. At least you have to think it might. This often ends in a time phrase, at least when I was thinking of examples for it. So you might say something like, they have eaten here before. We have cooked this before. We have all been here before. We have all gone here before. So it's something that's happened in the past, and it might happen again in the future. We're not saying it's going to happen in the future, but it's just kind of implied in the sentence that there's a possibility for that to happen. The door is open. So maybe if you go on vacation to the same place every year for the past 5 years, you might use this phrase. So you might say something like, we have been here for the past 5 years. So implied in that is you might come next year, or 5 years from now, you might come back. So it's only implied. You're not saying we're definitely going to come back here again. It's just possible, but you've been here before and it might happen again. You might do it again in the future. You might also use this when you're talking about something that ended recently, but it still affects things that are happening right now. So you might say something like, we have finished for the day, we can leave now. Or you might say something like, when everyone has turned in their test, the class is over. All right, so you're going to get 3 example sentences, and here's the first one. I have walked to the store every day since the beginning of time, or I have walked to the store every day for the past month. So we're using this tense because we're talking about something that has happened in the past, it's still happening in the present, and it might happen in the future. And you'll notice I added for the past month to the end of the sentence. I didn't have to do that from a grammar standpoint, but just from a practical standpoint, I needed to explain or justify why I was giving you this information. So instead of just saying, I walk to the store every day, when you say I have been walking to the store every day, it feels like you are justifying yourself. At least that's how it was happening in my head. It's almost like you're having a conversation with someone and they were like, hey, have you been exercising? And you're like, yes, I walk to the store. I have been walking to the store every day for the past month. To me, it just felt like it needed a time phrase. And I think that's because you're talking about this happened in the past. And to me, that's why, because we're adding in that this has been happening for a while aspect to it. I felt like I needed to tell you how long this had been happening for. This is all going to change depending on what the conversation is and what you're saying in the sentence. But that's why instinctively I added that extra time phrase at the end of saying I've been doing it for the past month, because I'm introducing the past. By using this tense, I'm introducing the past into the conversation. I hope that makes sense. So I've been riding a bike my whole life. So because I'm introducing the past, I'm kind of giving you some context. I'm giving you a time frame of what the past means. You don't have to say it that way from a grammar standpoint, but from a just talking to a person standpoint, it makes sense to me. Now, it's not going to make sense all the time, but just in the conversations I'm thinking in my head that you would have using this tense, it just makes sense to me. People have swum in the ocean every day this week. And so in this one, I added in that extra time phrase every day this week because I'm kind of framing it. I'm using this tense, which is talking about something that started in the past is still happening. And because of that, I'm telling you the time that I'm talking about. I'm talking about this week. Started this week. Today's Friday. So it started this week. It started on Monday. Here we are. People have been doing it the whole week. It's Friday. They are out there, I'm telling you. I'm going to get out there too. But people are still out there, and I suspect they're going to be out there tomorrow. Now, it's not tomorrow yet, so I don't know. But probably. I'd put money on it. So in this case, I just felt like I want it to be more specific with that time. Again, you don't have to be specific with the time to be grammatically correct. I just feel like that is the natural thing that someone would do. Now, if you're just talking about people swimming in the ocean in general, then you wouldn't add in that extra time phrase. But then why are you using this tense? Doesn't mean you can't. Does not mean you cannot use this tense. Just as I'm having these fake conversations in my head and trying to explain this to you guys, this is just what kind of keeps coming out. So I want to make sure I'm sharing with you how people actually switch back and forth between these tenses and why. Now, sometimes it's just the way you speak, and that's fine. That's fine. But generally speaking, we want to be as concise as possible when we're speaking, so we want to use the least amount of words. So if I'm going to add in words, there needs to be a reason why. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, and so I hope that's clear. You don't want to just add in words to add in words. It does not make you sound smart. It makes you sound confusing. So the least words you can use, the better. So if you're going to add more words, it should be because you're being more specific about something. There should be some sort of a reason why you're doing it, and that's why I keep adding more specified time phrases. Okay, last sentence. The book has sat on my desk all semester. And we're using this because it is something that happened in the past, is still happening now, and might continue to happen in the future. And so because we were adding in the past, the present, and possibly the future, I felt the need naturally, these are just my natural speaking instincts, I felt the need to specify, to be more specific about the time that I was talking about. Otherwise, I would just tell you the book is sitting on my desk. All right, so let's talk about how to form a question. So usually with present perfect tense, we take the subject and then we add have or has, and then we add the past tense form of the verb, but it's a question, so we're going to flip it. So we're going to start with have or has, then we're going to add the subject, and then we are going to add the verb in its past tense form. So you might say something like, have you worked all day? Have you worked here for long? Has she ridden a horse before? Have you swum in the ocean yet? Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the other videos that I have. You can check out the other videos on tenses on my channel. There will be more coming. I will be going over all 16 tenses in the English language. Bye!